Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a really simple birthday card to share with you using Hello Bluebird products that I've recently got. Today I'm featuring the Oh Happy Day stamp set, which is truly adorable and perfect for a birthday card. I am also going to use the woven background. I got it in the past and I think so far I have never used it. So let's start with that one. I am going to create a background really simple. I'm going to stamp this woven background out using a colorful ink, and that's also the color that I will be using from cardstock, so that everything is sort of monochrome except for the critter itself. So I used this sticky mat from Misty. It's the first time using it. It was on my wish list, then it was sold out, then it came back in stock, so I immediately purchased it because it seems like a really handy product. You can add your cardstock on it and stamp, and you normally will not have to use magnets, so in a case like a background stamp it can be really handy. Also, for example, when you're using a red rubber stamp, I think that can be really useful. I realized that it was really sticky. It's the first time using it, so maybe I'm just making some kind of beginner mistakes here with using it, but I just inked up my stamp, stamped it out a few times, made sure that this sticky mat was every time really well placed in that corner, and then I pressed down my stamp using a tool to help me, to divide a bit pressure. I'm just making sure that I have it wherever I need to. It's not perfectly stamped out, but it's also a woven background, and I think it gives a bit of charm. So here, as you can see, it's really sticky, but that's okay. I bought a sticky mat. Maybe the way that I peeled off the end here wasn't really the way I should have, because it curled up, but later on you will not see that, so that's good. The ink that I used was Stardust. It's from Concord and 9th, and I'm also using the Stardust cardstock. Now, just to help me cut this background down towards the size that I need, I used the nesting Deckle A2 dies from Hello Bluebird, the second largest for my background here, and then I will create a frame with the largest and the third largest nesting Deckle A2 die. So I'm using some purple tape to create my frame here. I'm also letting myself be guided by the by my craft mat underneath, and then I'm going to die cut this. As you can see, the same color as the ink. Now I'm also going to use the by the numbers die set from Hello Bluebird. I don't necessarily need a specific card, so I just made sure to place the numbers where I could get as much use out of it as possible. Now, when everything was die cut, I realized that this way, the background and then a colorful cardstock on top would work great as well. However, I was planning to create a background with then a frame on top, but as you can see, there are so many ways to use this. I'm going to stick to my original plan, and I will just keep all the excess that I have in the back of this die set. Now onto the stamp set. I'm going to feature this fox. You can take any critter for this design, and I will let that fox hold the number. In this case I will be using number 6, but any number can do depending on what you need. Also any color can do. I originally wanted to use another bluish greenish cardstock. I think it's sea glass from Concord and 9th, I'm not sure. I wanted to use that one, but I lent my inks to a friend, and so I didn't have that one, and I really wanted to go in the monochrome kind of idea for the background and all of the elements. So therefore I couldn't choose that, and I went for the Stardust, which is also a color that can be used for any gender, I think. It's great for a masculine card, but I also love it, so any gender. But I must admit that if I struggle with finding the right cardstock or colors for a masculine card, at this Stardust, I love it. It's not that yellow, it's not brown either, so it's not that standard kind of tone maybe that everyone wants to use for a masculine card. So really great cardstock, really great color. I'm using dark chocolate ink to stamp out the sentiment. I wanted to keep it really soft, so therefore I went for the brown ink. I will also stamp out the image with this ink and then color it with my Copics. So here I'm just doing that a few times, having a crisp impression, and then I can start coloring. Now, as you can see, there is only one image and this card is completely filled, so it's a really easy design. If you need multiple cards, this is really a go-to design, I think. And it's also because of the stamp set, because everything is just figured out already by Hello Bluebird, in my opinion. The way the sentiments are shaped, the way that you can just add to sixth, anything like that, I think it's genius. So for the fox, normally I go with E18, 15, 33 and so on. Today I decided to add the E09 in between the E18 and 15, which gave me this more reddish fox, and I don't mind at all. So I'm really glad that I tried this, because it gives me another color combination for the fox by just adding one more to the combination that I use normally. So I'm just making sure to blend it out. Of course, E15 is way lighter than E09. I have the same when I want to blend from E18 to E15. But it's all about going back in there, adding a second layer, maybe do tip to tip if you need to. But I find that a second layer already helps me quite a lot. So therefore I just went for that. So the E18 is really strong brown color. I love it. It's warm, but it's dark. And then that E09 is really reddish brown. So there is already a difference in between those two, but it works. So that's really fun. Also, whenever I'm making a boo-boo, going outside the lines, I'm using my colorless blender. And then I can just continue. In case a colorless blender isn't working enough, or it's like a color that just keeps on showing up, I have that often with reds, then you can always use a white jelly roll pen to just fix those tiny mistakes. Or in case you don't have a colorless blender, that can be really handy. Although wherever you want to still color on top, it is an issue. So it's only on the edges that I suggest using that white jelly roll pen. So here for that lighter area for the fox, I found that I just went a bit too dark. So I'm going to use a colorless blender as well here to sort of fade that out a bit more, and then go over it again with some lighter markers. It can work, but I just wasn't sure about it, so I went over it to fix that, to give me another option. Just making sure to heat set that. Whenever I do larger areas with the colorless blender, I make sure to heat set it so that the paper dries faster and I can continue faster, but also that there is less bleeding going on. So I'm just softly going to add that E33, E53 again. And then I will move on to the next part of this image. But as you can see, I'm not afraid of using that colorless blender. It helps me all the time. So whenever I need it, I take it, and I am proud of it. Okay, so here I'm just doing the ears, and then for the head I decided to go with one of my favorite green combinations. It's a really muted, nature kind of olive kind of green, and I think it works really well with this brown color, also with the stardust that we have going on in the background. So coloring is done here. I'm going to take the matching dies and cut it out, and then we can assemble our card. So as I said, whenever I need to, I can always use that white jelly roll pen as well to help me. And since I stamped this image out with brown ink, I'm going to add a bit of black on the nose and on the eye of the fox, just to emphasize it a bit more. And then we can play around with adding everything to the card. So here you can see that fox holding that number 6. Any number again can do, also any critter can do. Depending on how it's facing, you might switch it to the other side, anything goes. So for the fox I'm using some thin foam squares here, and then the 6 I will later on adhere just flat on my background panel here. A bit wonky. I wanted that 6 to be a bit wonky because even when I am holding things, I don't think it's all straight. So that's just a bit of fun element, but you can definitely add it straight as well. Then I was just checking out, I'm going to add the panel on top of the card base using some adhesive roller, and then I will add that frame on top. And then the only thing that was left to do for me was to embellish it a tiny bit more, and I decided to add a few hard sprinkles on top. Since I had all the browns going on and the stardust, I decided upon the coffee bean hard sprinkles, so the brown version, to finish off this card. Any embellishment will do, you don't need to. I think it's gorgeous without as well, but any occasion for a hard sprinkle for me is an occasion that I need to use to add that. So I just laid it out, and once I was happy with placement, I adhered it using some liquid glue, and then my card is completely finished. A really simple card that can be adapted in so many ways, but still in a way that is really simple. If you don't have a background stamp, you can also use pattern papers, because there are some gorgeous pattern papers out there, let's be honest. If you don't have colored inks, no worries about that. I also contemplated about just using a really soft ink when I wasn't going monochrome. You can also use a really soft ink and then a cardstock that jumps from the card. Truly, the sky is the limit with this design, and that's also why I truly adore it as well. So that is going to be my card for today. I want to thank you all for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you got inspired in any way. Thank you, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!